I wanted to end the show on a positive note. So a huge thank you to William for waiting so long. William's been on hold for 2 hours and 15 minutes. You guys will recognize William's voice. William,
hey, William,
unlike most of the rest of them, has been honest, even perhaps to his own detriment on occasion. And so let's close out today's show by inviting William back. He wants to discuss the origins of life, approaching it as now a former theist. I believe you called in yesterday, but also we talked to you on Sunday, I think. Eric and I did. So welcome back, newly minted, godless heathen William.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, thank you. What an honor. I really appreciate that opening, Matt. And yeah, always a pleasure, Matt. I'm sorry to hear you're not feeling well. I really hope you start pulling through.
It's really bad. It has made my fuse shorter today than I anticipated it would be, but I've literally I've spent more time in the bathroom over the last 3 days than I have in the last 3 weeks. So, hurrah.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, I can't say that I'm surprised that some of these calls had that impact, but yeah, so I did want to, again, going through some of these questions that I've had as a theist, some of which I would actually use as like arguments to defend my belief in God, which, obviously is now suspended or dropped, I would say. Sorry, I've been on the fence for so long, like I'm still getting used to the lingo. But
no, you're good.
one of the things that I wanted to talk about was this idea of the seemingly coming from randomness. I've actually engaged in a few debates as an atheist against theists who have made this argument, and I found it a little bit difficult to articulate. Yes?
Please don't make me a liar.
I'm sorry.
You've been an atheist. You've been an atheist for like a day, and you've engaged in debates with theists as an atheist.
Yeah, last night there was a live stream on YouTube, and I took part in it, and I was trying to kind of argue the other side of the fence and just see kind of like looking in the mirror kind of stuff and evaluating the position that I used to have.
I was in that live. I was viewing that live stream last night. Matt, he was indeed there and talking about these stuff, and also the night before as he was deconverting. So I think give him a little slack with the way he's timing it. Yeah.
In the 20 years that I've done this, your case is unusual, and something feels incredibly off, and I hope that I'm wrong. So please continue.
Sure. I guess I can clarify or elaborate on that a little bit. Maybe I phrased that strangely, but what I was trying to do was approach my doubt from another perspective and just trying to, I guess, play devil's advocate a little bit and say, like, okay, what if I were to argue against this position that I so recently held? Because I don't know how I would attack it. So that's kind of why I'm here. I wanting to ask you how you would attack this position of life coming from like seemingly true randomness, and that it would seem so improbable for life to come from true randomness, and like therefore there must be a creator, which is obviously not what I accept anymore. But I'm wondering what your thoughts on that argument would be and how you would address that in a conversation to someone who's saying that, oh, well, life is so complex, it can't be random, it must have a creator. I was just curious on what your thoughts on that would be.
Oh, what difference how could you tell if something was too random?
I guess, yeah, that's a good question. You're asking how I can tell if something is truly random?
I don't know that anything is truly random, but if the argument is, oh, the process is too random for this to not happen without guidance. Well, first of all, the process is not random. evolution by means of natural selection is not random. The mutations that occur in the genome due to copying errors and a number of other things, those are random or seem random because we don't necessarily always know a cause and can't always identify the cause. But evolution by means of natural selection, nature is selecting, not with intent, but whatever can survive is what survives, or more accurately, it's whatever can't survive won't. And so we are the descendants of those things that were successful. It's not a random process. The honing towards a complicated, robust thinking creature is not random. It is anything but random. It is just not intentionally selected by an agent. There were changes that were unplanned. Evolution doesn't have a goal in mind. And those changes turned out to result in us for now. We're probably going to go extinct in the near future. And then there will be some other creature that thinks maybe, hopefully, down the line that it was the undirected purpose of evolution. But this notion that, it's just the world is too random. The world is not that random. There is order. There is physics, and physics dictates chemistry. And chemicals combine in very predictable, strict processes. And while we don't understand everything about physics and space-time and all of that, we have a little bit of understanding, enough to know that it's not just random. As a matter of fact, the universe is at least softly deterministic, if not, I'm pretty sure that it's not hard deterministic, but it's at least softly deterministic, and that's nothing at all like random. It's not like we're walking along and somebody spontaneously produces a duplicate of themselves on the sidewalk next to them. I mean, that would be kind of random. The universe is fairly well ordered.
Yeah, I think William, when we look at the universe and we have what's impressive and what's complex, and what's kind of, I guess, when we don't have the ability to take a sample and like test and calculate probabilities, what's likely tends to be completely arbitrary from our starting point. Like, what is impressive? Like, where's your starting point to determine what's impressive and what's not impressive, what's complex and not complex, what's random and what's chaotic. I heard, was it last night? Was this you last night? Or maybe this was Justin earlier today? Like, if you took a piece of paper and you just put a bunch of random dots all over that paper, and you took a pen and took a subset of dots. I think that was you last night, right?
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, you could take a pen and you can connect the dots and make a picture out of just completely random dots on a piece of paper. You can make a more complex picture. You can make a less complex picture. Like, there's all kinds of possibilities there. So kind of we want to be careful that we don't start with certain assumptions about what might be complex, what might not be complex, what's possible, what's not possible, when we have no ability to test other examples of universes coming about, or other examples of universes developing into what it is today. So, and I think from our last conversation, it's okay. It's great you're talking about it and thinking about it, but it's okay for now to simply put a big question mark there, because we could potentially have no answers for any of these questions. Science could potentially say we have zero idea how this all got here, no clue whatsoever. And that doesn't like diminish atheism. That doesn't promote any type of theism. It's just an unknown. And
sorry.
There are like, and but to kind of take on what you're talking about more directly, my personal like way I kind of cope with this unknown is I kind of think about how there's different hypotheses about what the universe is, what the cosmos is, the Big Bang, Big Crunch, kind of cyclical universe type theory where, the universe is perpetual and eternal, and it will expand out, contract in, expand out, contract in, with the universal constants and stuff changing with every cycle. Eventually, you're going to have a universe that is capable of supporting life, and life actually develops inside of it. We happen to be in one of those right now. Could be that in the next cycle, something completely different appears under a different set of laws. Like, not saying that's actually the case, but like these are scientific hypotheses and theories that have mathematical and evidentiary basis behind it. But it's really hard for us to, fully solidify any of these things, because we're talking about, back when time broke down, or back before time started, physics breaks down, and we just simply, it's like an event horizon of a black hole. We simply can't see past it. So that's kind of how I look at it. And I go, okay, there might be an answer here somewhere, or there might never be an answer accessible to us. That doesn't really get in the way of me denying or doubting there's a God, though. So yeah, that's kind of my my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I like that you brought up the picture example, because that's what I was going to follow up with asking. And I think I did make this analogy last night, and as soon as I made it, I kind of like stepped back a little bit, and I was like, I'm not actually sure if that does hold, because I was starting to question if, like, I think I said drawing a house with connected dots on a sheet of random dots would require like agency or something.
I think it's an apt analogy in that you can look at something supposedly chaotic and find some type of order in it. And the thing is, though, when if you think of it that way, as the universe is just, when the universe is born, it just smatters a bunch of dots all over a paper just randomly. There's no intent behind that. There's no purpose behind that. Nobody designed that. But it could be that there are patterns in there. Like perhaps, there's always a 1 dot with 2 dots orbiting it or something like that. Like you don't have to have intent in order for there to be some type of order to a lot of randomness, is what I'm saying. It's possible that the universe occurred, had this supposedly random elements to it, but within that there are some type of ordered systems, or there are some type of sense to it. And it could be that we're the result of that. Just patterns come together, chemicals mix in the appropriate ways, and now here we are to complain about it. It could be the case. And like I said, if the cyclical universe thing is true, then we have infinite occurrences of this, and it's eventually going to happen. That something's going to come about to say, hey, what's going on here? But like I said, I'm not a physicist. I'm not anything close to that. So these are just my layman kind of thoughts about it. But it's the randomness of it doesn't really get me at all.
Yeah, I think that's making a lot more sense, actually, now that you're saying this. I mean, I'm a software engineer. If I had to, I guess, try to make an analogy maybe closer to what you're saying, but piggybacking off of what I was saying with the polka dot example, I guess, would it be accurate to say that it's sort of like starting a computer simulation through like randomness, but having like parameter constraints on how the randomness kind of permeates throughout the simulation? I feel like that would be more.
I mean, we kind of already do that with machine learning. We don't have completely random parameters to start with, but we do have some system with some constraints, and then within that system, as we iterate, we allow all these mutations of randomness to go in there, and eventually we get something like, like you said, you're a software developer. You're familiar with the channel Code Bullet? Have you watched this channel? Very popular. He goes through all of this, and he shows. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he goes through all this and he shows the algorithms used for deep machine learning or for learning algorithms. And he can teach a car to drive. He can teach a man to run in a computer simulation. So, the theory, the method is sound because we can demonstrate it for it to work. It's just we have big question marks about how it came about. And I think Matt just raised his hand, but I'm not sure. So, some say Matt.
William, are you familiar with John Conway's Game of Life?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for those who aren't, you should go look up John Conway's Game of Life. It started in 1970 as a really simple computer simulation showing that with a couple of very basic rules, you can get little pixelated things that give the appearance of life, including generating copies and clones and flyers and things that appear to move. Only thing that's happening is pixels are turning off and on based on a very simple rule set, and yet it creates the appearance of life, of motion, of something with intent. of something with a purpose. And it can come out, you can go to playgameoflife.com and actually put in your random pattern that you want to start with and run a simulation and see what you get out of it. But there are, because it is an ordered set of rules, there are predictable, in this case, 100% predictable results, because there's no randomness in this, in Conway's Game of Life in this. When you add in even the slightest bit of randomness, who knows what you might be able to get out of something like that. But it's eye-opening that when we look at it, we perceive those things and we give them names. Like, this one is a glider. No, it's not. It's a handful of pixels turning on and off, and it's different pixels every time because the pixels don't move. It's just, it gives the illusion of moving. It doesn't necessarily demonstrate this, but I view life in its broad sense. I am this package of material at this particular time in this particular location. And now I am a different package of material with some of the same stuff, and definitely in a different time and in a different location. It's this package that changes, that is me. And there's no atom in my body that was here when I was born. When you start looking at things like that, the temptation is to think, oh, it's all just patterns and therefore it's all meaningless. But don't overlook the fact that this is a pattern, recognizing the pattern, and apparently, although it's debatable to what extent we can, having the ability to influence this pattern and other patterns in significant ways, and to react and respond to those sorts of actions. It's not complexity that is the hallmark of design. It is simplicity that is the hallmark of design. But when we look at things that are so complex, we can't grasp them the way we can grasp the pixels in Conway's Group of Life, or Conway's Game of Life. It shouldn't surprise us that there's awe and wonder. And maybe we don't have all the answers right now, but there's still not justification to think that the answer we're missing is Magic Man done it.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the Conway's Game of Life example tie into that. I think that's, honestly, I'm surprised I haven't really considered that specific example before. I actually had a college project in one of my coding classes where I worked on a simulation that was similar algorithm to Conway's Game of Life. Not quite the same, but again, just, yeah, I agree with most everything you said. So I appreciate that input. That does help a lot with my deeper understanding of, I guess, just the way life is and how things just are, because that's just the parameters of nature.
Maybe things are the way they are because that's the way they had to be. Maybe there's more to it, but the time to think there's more to it is when you have a justification for saying, ooh, we need to go beyond this because what we currently have is not only insufficient, but there's good reason to think that there may be an answer out here somewhere, which is why I was, asked the other callers, hey, how do you know what's right? How do you know what's evil? How do you know this? How do you know that? Because none of us have time to be an expert on all these things. And yet we're all just uncomfortable with not knowing. We're all, or most of us, some people don't give as much a shit about truth as I think they should. But what we need to get comfortable with is not just saying, I don't know, but I don't know. But if there's a way to find out, let's see if we can find it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, William, thanks so much for the call, and congratulations, and feel free to call us back. I'm sure there'll be lots of other questions. My apologies for the suspicions, and I look forward to hearing from you again. But we got to wrap this up and move on to super chats. I really appreciate your patience. You were on hold for 2 hours.
Yeah,
and so
I honestly super thank you. I it's super unfair that I've called in so much, but I wouldn't have if it wasn't so helpful. So I really am just grateful that you took my call anyways. Thank you so much. No, and that's all I'll say for sake of time.
You're welcome. And genuinely, I know that I look forward to hearing from you again. I'm pretty sure Eric does as well. And everybody here in the line is grateful that you have become an example of how these conversations can benefit people. And there are other people out there that have benefited in other ways. There are people that will message me and say, you know, after talking with you, I went off, did some research, and it strengthened my faith. And I wish they had a good reason, but at least they took the time to think about it and get rid of maybe their old bad reasons. Maybe they found new bad reasons. Maybe they found new good reasons. Maybe they'll share them someday. But the number of people who don't spend any time thinking about these things with any sort of personal honesty and self-reflection seems to dramatically outweigh those who do. So take care, William. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, William.
Thank you very much. You as well. Yep.
Bye.
Thank you for watching that clip. If you enjoyed it, perhaps you should join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
At patreon.com/calltheline.